Let me be completely honest with you right now. Most people who want to grow their money never actually do it. Not because they're not smart enough, not because they don't work hard enough, but because nobody ever sat down with them and explained it in a way that actually made sense. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Before we go any further, if you've been feeling stuck watching your money just sit there doing nothing while the cost of everything around you keeps climbing, this is the video you needed to find. People who understand what you're about to learn don't stress about money the same way anymore. They sleep differently, they think differently. And by the end of this, you will too. Let's start with the truth that most financial advice completely ignores. You've probably been told to save your money. Put it in a savings account, be responsible, work hard. And so you did. You saved, you were disciplined, you told yourself no to things you actually wanted, and then you looked at your bank statement after a year of doing everything right, and the number barely moved. That feeling right there, that quiet frustration mixed with confusion, that's one of the most common feelings people carry around but almost never talk about. Because from the outside, everything looks fine, but on the inside, you're doing the math, and the math is not adding up. Here's what's actually happening. When your money just sits in a standard savings account, inflation quietly eats it alive. Prices go up roughly 2 to 3% every single year on average. Your savings account gives you less than 1% in most cases, so you're actually losing purchasing power while you think you're being responsible. You're working harder, saving more, and somehow falling further behind. And nobody told you this was even happening. That's not your fault. That's a system that was never properly explained to you. Now here's where things start to shift. What if your money could work as hard as you do? Not through gambling, not through risky speculation, not through some scheme that promises to make you rich overnight, but through simple, proven strategies that people who understand money have been quietly using for decades. We have programs linked down below in the video description that go much deeper into everything we're covering today. These aren't for people who are perfectly happy watching their money do nothing. These are for people who are ready to actually understand how money moves and how to make it move for them. If that's you, go check them out now because spots are genuinely limited, and the people who act first are always the ones who look back grateful they did. Most people will keep scrolling, but you're still here. That already tells me something about you. Now let's talk about the actual strategies. The first concept is compound interest, and I know you may have heard that term before, but stay with me because most explanations completely miss the emotional reality of what this actually means for your life. Imagine dropping a single snowflake on top of a hill. It seems meaningless, insignificant, but as it rolls down, it picks up more snow, and more, and more, until by the bottom of that hill, what started as almost nothing has become something enormous. That's exactly what compound interest does to your money. The longer it rolls, the bigger it gets. Not because you're adding more, but because the money you already have starts earning money on its own earnings. Even small amounts, consistently placed into the right vehicles, can grow into something that would genuinely shock you if you saw the numbers side by side. Financial researchers have documented this pattern across millions of accounts over decades. The people who understood this early are the ones who didn't have to trade every hour of their lives for income in their later years. The second strategy is index fund investing. Now, this is where a lot of people freeze up because the word investing sounds complicated and risky. But here's the simple truth. An index fund is basically you buying a tiny piece of hundreds of companies at once. Instead of betting on one company and hoping it wins, you're spreading your money across the entire market. When the economy grows, you grow with it. Historically, broad market index funds have averaged returns somewhere between 7 and 10% per year over long periods of time. Compare that to your savings account giving you less than 1%. The difference over many years isn't just dramatic, it's life-changing. And the most powerful part? You don't need to be a financial genius to do this. You don't need to watch charts. You don't need to know complicated terminology. You set it up, you stay consistent, and you let time do what time does. Third strategy, automating your money. This one is psychological as much as it is financial, because here's what actually happens to most people. They get paid, they spend, and then they try to save whatever's left over, which is usually nothing, or almost nothing. But flip that order. Automate a portion of your income to move into a separate investment or savings vehicle the moment you get paid, before you touch it, before you even see it sitting there calling your name. The behavior researchers who study this consistently find that people who automate their financial growth build significantly more wealth over time than those with the same income who don't. Not because they earn more, because they make the right choice invisible so it just happens without willpower required. And speaking of psychology, let's talk about the cost of doing nothing, because this is the part that genuinely hurts to think about when you sit with it long enough. Picture two versions of your life. In one version, you keep doing what you're doing. Money sits, inflation chips away, years pass, and eventually you realize that financial freedom was always something that was going to happen later, in some future that never quite arrived. Stress quietly humming in the background at every dinner, every vacation, every unexpected bill that shows up at the worst possible time. In the other version, you made one decision at a specific moment in your life to actually learn how this works and then act on it. And now the money works in the background while you live. Not perfectly, not without challenges, but differently, with more breathing room, with a buffer between you and crisis, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows where they're going financially even if the road isn't always smooth. The difference between those two lives isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's information and the decision to act on it. Financial educators who study long-term wealth-building patterns consistently point out that the biggest regret isn't losing money on a bad investment. It's waiting too long to start at all. Because time is the one ingredient in compound growth that you genuinely cannot buy back once it's gone. Now let's bring this all together because you deserve a clear picture of what you're actually working with. Start small if you need to. Seriously. The amount matters far less than the habit and the vehicle. Put your money somewhere it can actually grow instead of slowly shrink. Index funds, retirement accounts, high-yield alternatives that outpace inflation. Learn what these look like in practice, not just in theory. Automate so that the decision is already made before temptation has a chance to interrupt it, and then leave it alone long enough for time to do its work. The people who are financially secure didn't get there because life was easier for them. They got there because at some point someone broke this down in a way they could actually understand and they took it seriously. Now, if today was the day that something clicked for you, don't let that feeling fade into the background noise of everything else competing for your attention. The programs linked in the description below take everything you've heard today and go into a level of depth and practical detail that genuinely changes how people relate to money. People who are completely lost financially have walked through this material and come out the other side thinking in ways that used to feel completely out of reach. Most people will close this tab and go back to wondering why nothing ever changes. But if you're someone who recognizes that the moment you're in right now matters, the link is waiting for you. The question is simply whether you'll be the person who acts on it today,